Hi guys, welcome to your first official video lesson that will start off our first unit, which is going to be expressions, equations, and inequalities. It's also going to merge into the real number system, so as our videos continue, we will keep branching upon this. Our first learning target is going to be that by the end of class, students will be able to, so please get used to that mnemonic device up there. That's going to be my shorthand. You will be able to define what an expression, an equation, and an inequality is. You're going to be able to separate samples into the correct categories, and then you're going to work in groups to complete charts with 90% accuracy or better when you come into class. So the purpose of this video is to model, one, the definition, two, give you some samples, and that's about it. And you'll bring those definitions and those samples into class tomorrow, and you'll work with your groups and see what you can fill out on your own. If you need more guidance, we'll see what your groups can do, and then if you still need more guidance, you'll be able to call me over into your groups and we can have a conversation about what the video may have said or what it didn't say, and what else you need in order to be successful in your assignment. Okay, so let's get started. Please make sure whatever notes you're taking, you are taking inside of your provided notebook. You can do it in the graphic notebook, or you can actually do a notes section in your binder, which I personally recommend. The papers are easier to follow and organize. You're going to want to go ahead and label this chapter 1.1 is where we're starting. I'm a big fan of labeling it. Expressions, equations, and inequalities would be just fine. And so let's get started. First things first, we're going to talk about what an expression is, because vocabulary to me is very important. What you guys are going to learn is that if you say something one way, it actually holds a different meaning mathematically. I know that works in English too, so be careful. First of all, an expression. It is a mathematical phrase that contains, numbers. So let's see. Contains numbers. It can contain parentheses, and it can also contain variables. So it can contain and or variables. But the most important thing that you need to know about an expression is that it does not contain equal signs. Okay, so there are no equal signs. Okay, that's like the most important thing that you're going to need to know about an expression. No equal signs whatsoever. That means that when you have an expression, that it can be evaluated or simplified. However, it cannot be solved. You cannot solve it. Can't be solved. Okay? So that's the first part of what we have when it comes to dealing with those. So then we are going to talk about what it is to actually be an expression. And don't worry, I will come back and make sure that we get examples of everything that we need. I just want to get the definitions out of the way because board space will be limited for me. So up next is going to talk about an equation. So lo and behold, the two things that an expression is not is what an equation is. So when it comes to the definition of an equation, our first go for is that it contains numbers and parentheses and or variables. That is an equation, but it can be solved. That's first foremost. It also contains an equal sign. By the way, feel free to add if you can't see certain colors. I know some kids can be colorblind, or literally if they're not showing up on your screen. Also, if you can't read my handwriting, make a note of that attached to this video, please. So I want you guys to think about equations a certain way. These require balance, okay, like a scale. This very much so says whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other, so there needs to be a balance that happens there. So we're going to keep that part in mind. Last but not least was going to be what the definition of an inequality is. And an inequality is a sentence that simply says one side is greater than or less than the other side. They're usually considered expressions because it's not a true equal sign, though they can include less than or equal to inside of it. So just so you have what that signage looks like, I'm going to show you. You can solve these. There is a solution to them, but what happens is that it's more than one answer. So like if I said x is less than 6, well, gee, how many answers are less than 6? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's nice. Those are just your whole numbers. And there's also, 5.2 and 5.22. And so it carries every infinite number that happens to be less than 6. So there's a variety of solutions for these inequalities. Whereas an equation, the majority of the time will only have one solution. It can have more than one, but those are different types of equations we'll get into later in the year. So we're going to look at it and say that an inequality, essentially, it's an expression that states one side is less than or greater than the other. It can be solved. However, it's not balanced, okay? This does not say that both sides have to be the same number. So I don't have to end up with 2 equals 2. I could, but I don't have to. I definitely could say that 2 is less than 1. This works. That would make this an okay situation to have happen. So that is the first part. I want this video just to be straight towards the definitions. When we get to the next video, you will see the samples to come with them. So please make sure you click the next one. I like to keep them short and simple so you don't lose interest that quickly. Okay? Thanks, guys. See you in the next video.